Captain Emily Rhodes didn't show up to that courthouse in her uniform for pity. She wore it because it was the last thing her father ever saw her in, and today, it felt like armor. But the judge who looked down at her docket had no idea this wasn't just a dry property dispute. By the end, it was clear the wrong person was on trial. And one simple letter would flip everything upside down. Before we dive into Emily's story, if you've ever had to fight for what's rightfully yours, or felt like family turned their back on you, you're going to want to stick around for this one. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because sometimes the most powerful victories happen in the quietest moments. So let me introduce you to Captain Emily Rhodes. She's 34, just got back from her third deployment with the 101st Airborne, the Screaming Eagles. This woman has seen combat in places most of us can't even pronounce, led soldiers through situations that would break most people. But right now, she's dealing with something that might be harder than anything she faced overseas. She comes home expecting to finally have some peace, maybe figure out what civilian life looks like, and instead she walks into a complete nightmare. Her dad passed away while she was deployed, which is already devastating enough. But here's the kicker. There are stacks of unpaid property taxes on his house, legal notices piling up like confetti, and her cousin Mark, her own family, is trying to steal the house right out from under her using some sketchy technical amendment to the will. This isn't some big city with fancy lawyers and complex real estate deals. This is small-town America, where everyone knows everyone, and the probate court usually handles simple stuff like who gets grandma's china set. They're not used to dealing with military deployment schedules or family members who've been serving overseas for nearly a decade. But here's what you need to understand about Emily. That house isn't just bricks and mortar to her. It's the last real piece of her father she has left. It's where she learned to ride a bike, where he taught her to change a tire, where they had their last conversation before her deployment. She'd rather die than lose it quietly, and she sure as hell isn't going down without a fight. So picture this courthouse. It's one of those old buildings that probably hasn't been updated since the 1970s. You know the type. Creaky wooden benches, fluorescent lights that buzz, and that weird smell that's part old wood, part cleaning supplies, part decades of nervous sweat. The locals are packed in there like it's the hottest show in town. Because let's be honest, in a small town, a family feud in probate court is basically Netflix and popcorn. Everyone's craning their necks, whispering behind their hands, trying to get the best view of the drama. Emily walks in wearing her dress uniform. And I'm talking full military dress. Every ribbon and medal in its proper place. Boots so polished you could see your reflection. She's not trying to show off. She's trying to hold herself together. That uniform is like armor to her, especially since it's the last thing her dad ever saw her wearing when she left for deployment. Across the aisle sits her cousin Mark, and this guy, man, this guy is something else. He's lounged back like he's watching television in his living room, legs kicked out, completely casual. His lawyer is this slick city attorney with a tablet and a $3,000 suit, tapping away like he's already planning what to spend his fee on. The judge shuffles through papers looking like he'd rather be literally anywhere else. You can tell he's thinking this is just another family squabble clogging up his docket, another Tuesday morning headache he has to deal with before lunch. Mark's lawyer stands up first, and this guy is smooth. I mean, he's got that used car salesman charm down to an art form. He starts painting this picture of Emily as basically an absentee daughter who abandoned her responsibilities. Your Honor, he says, Captain Rhodes has been living on military bases and in combat zones for nearly a decade. She's been absent from this community, absent from family responsibilities, while my client Mark has been here, maintaining the property, paying taxes, keeping up repairs. Now here's where it gets interesting. Those receipts he's talking about, they're thinner than paper towels. We're talking maybe a handful of payments over several years, probably just enough to make it look legitimate. Emily's lawyer is this local guy, probably been practicing law in the same building for 30 years. He's got a kind face and means well, but he's more used to writing wills and handling real estate closings than courtroom battles. He focuses on the human side. Letters from neighbors talking about how much Emily's dad loved her. Testimony from his old friends about how he always talked about leaving her the house. But the judge is frowning, shaking his head. None of this overrides the filed amendment, he mutters. And you can see it in Emily's face. This isn't going the way she hoped. During the court break, Emily steps out into the hallway to get some air, maybe compose herself before round 2. That's when she overhears Mark talking to some local reporter who smelled a story. And what he says, it's like a punch to the gut. She thinks wearing camo and medals is gonna shame a judge into handing her a house. Mark laughs, loud enough for half the hallway to hear. But this is property law, not a 4th of July parade. All those ribbons don't mean squat when it comes to legal documents. Emily grips her dog tags so hard they leave marks on her palm. These aren't just pieces of metal to her. They represent years of service, friends she's lost, missions she's completed. And this guy, her own cousin, is basically spitting on all of that. You can see the hurt in her eyes mixing with anger. She's fought for her country, led soldiers through hell, lost friends in combat zones, and now she's got to come home and fight her own family for the one thing her father wanted her to have. When they go back into the courtroom, you can feel the tension. Emily's sitting straighter, jaw set, ready for whatever comes next. Her lawyer looks nervous, shuffling through papers, probably wondering how he's going to pull this off. That's when he clears his throat and says something that surprises everyone, including Emily. Your Honor, we'd like to submit testimony from one final witness. We're asking for some latitude from the court here. The judge gives him this skeptical look, like he's expecting another character witness or neighbor. Fine, he says, but make it quick. And then the courtroom door opens. In walks this older man, probably in his 60s, wearing civilian clothes but carrying himself like military through and through. He's got a cane, walking with that careful dignity that comes from years of service and maybe a few too many injuries along the way. Your Honor, he says, I'm retired Command Sergeant Major Tom Owens, United States Army. Emily's eyes go wide. She had no idea this was coming. Her lawyer kept this ace up his sleeve, and honestly, neither did we. Owens doesn't try to dazzle anyone with fancy legal language or courtroom theatrics. He just tells the story, plain and simple, the way soldiers do. I served with Emily's father, David Rhodes, for over 15 years. We deployed together twice, including Iraq, where he got wounded. David talked about his daughter constantly, and I mean constantly. Every phone call home, every letter he wrote, every conversation during chow, it was always about Emily. You can hear a pin drop in that courtroom. Even Mark has stopped lounging and is sitting up straight. David used to say, "That house is for my girl when she gets back. After I'm gone, it's all she'll have of me, and it's all she'll need to start over." He must have said those exact words to me 50 times. Then Owens reaches into his jacket and pulls out this old weathered envelope. The paper is stained. Looks like it might have been through a deployment or two. After David passed, we were going through his deployment footlocker, personal effects, things to send to family, and we found this. He hands the letter to Emily's lawyer, who passes it to the judge. It's handwritten, clearly in David's writing, dated just a few months before he died. The judge reads it silently, and you can see his expression change. His face softens, and when he looks up at Emily, there's something different in his eyes. This letter, Owens continues, explicitly states that Emily is to inherit the house. It's not notarized, it's not witnessed by lawyers, but it's a father's intent written in his own hand. David Rhodes knew he was sick, and he wanted to make sure his daughter would have a home to come back to. The courtroom is absolutely silent. You could hear someone breathing 2 rows back. Even the court reporter has stopped typing and is just listening. The judge leans back in his chair, and you can see him processing everything. He's got this letter in his hands, looking back and forth between Emily in her uniform and Mark with his expensive lawyer. Finally, he speaks, and his voice is different now, softer, more thoughtful. Legally speaking, he says slowly, this letter isn't a formal will amendment. It doesn't have the technical requirements that the law typically demands. Emily's heart sinks. You can see it in her face. She thinks she's about to lose everything. But, the judge continues, and that one word changes everything. Probate court isn't just about technical legalities. It's about intent. It's about honoring what the deceased truly wanted for their family. Mark's lawyer tries to jump up and object, but the judge waves him down. "Captain Rhodes," the judge says, looking directly at Emily, "your father's words in this letter, combined with the testimony we've heard about his consistent intentions, speak louder than any technical filing. Your service to this country, your sacrifice, the fact that you were serving overseas when these issues arose, all of that matters." He pauses, then delivers the ruling that changes everything. "I'm ruling that the property remains with Captain Emily Rhodes, as was clearly her father's intent. Furthermore, I'm ordering that Mark Rhodes cover all court costs associated with this proceeding." Then he adds something that just cuts right to the heart of it. "Consider it a lesson in family duty, Mr. Rhodes." Emily closes her eyes, and you can see her whole body just release this tension she's been carrying. The house isn't just saved. Her father's promise is alive. Outside the courthouse, there are local reporters trying to turn this into some feel-good story about the hometown hero getting justice. You know how it goes. They want the perfect soundbite about military service and American values. But Emily handles it perfectly. She looks right into the camera and says, "This isn't about my medals or my service record. This is about a daughter coming home to what her father left for her. That's all it ever was." The crowd parts respectfully as she walks away, her uniform crisp in the afternoon sun, finally able to breathe freely for the first time in months. Fast forward a few months, and Emily's got this backyard barbecue going at her dad's house. Well, her house now. There are neighbors, old veterans from the VFW, kids from the local ROTC program. It's exactly the kind of gathering her dad would have loved. Sergeant Major Owens is there too, sitting in a lawn chair with his cane across his knees, grinning at all the chaos and noise. Emily catches herself smiling more than she has in years, maybe since before her first deployment. Inside the house, that grease-stained letter is now framed in the hallway, right under a shadow box containing her father's medals and some of her own. Not as trophies or bragging rights, but as quiet promises kept across 2 lifetimes of service. Some evenings, she sits on those porch steps, boots off, dog tags wrapped around her fingers, and for the first time in a long time, she's at peace. She's finally home. If this story moved you, please share it with someone who might need to hear about fighting for what's right, even when the odds seem stacked against you. Emily's story reminds us that home isn't just a place, it's a promise. And sometimes, those promises are worth fighting for. Hit that like button if Emily's fight resonated with you. Subscribe for more real stories about real people standing up for what matters, and I'll see you in the next one.